In this episode, we'll be looking at a package called virtualenv. There was a fellow named Ian Bicking who created the virtualenv project. It is a tool for creating isolated Python environments. You can use these environments to test out new versions of your software, new versions of packages you depend on, or just as a sandbox for trying out some new package in general. The main reason you'd want to do the latter is that you don't want to install a bunch of packages into your main Python installation. Sometimes these things can clobber each other if they're similarly named, or you just don't want to maintain all that extra junk in your main Python installation. So anyway, let's take a look at how to install that. Normally, with Python, you can just do pip. In my case, I need to do sudo pip install virtualenv. And you'll download it and it should install it. Okay, so it installed version 13.1.2. Now if you have Python 3.4, it actually has a module called venv that you can use with. It has a very similar API to virtualenv. But if you want, you can also install virtualenv against Python 3.4, I believe. So anyway, we're going to focus on virtualenv instead of venv, just because I know it a little bit better and because you need to know about it too. So let's go and cd into a different area. We'll go to Documents, Code, and then we'll actually create a virtual environment. So we have virtualenv.py, and then we'll just do the folder name that we want to create. Alright, so this should be the folder name that you want to go to. And if you hit enter, it's probably not going to work because it's looking for virtualenv.py. Depending on how you have Python set up, it may or may not notice that virtualenv is installed. On my machine, it does know. So most of the time you can type virtualenv, and if it auto-completes, you know it's there. And if you hit enter, it'll tell you all the different options it has. So occasionally, if it doesn't install correctly, or you don't have scripts on your path, like in Windows, you may have to add that particular folder to your path. So it'd be C, Python, wherever you have your Python installation. And there's a scripts folder in there that needs to be on your Python path. And then virtualenv should work. Otherwise, you'll have to type in the full path to virtualenv.py to make it work. So anyway, we'll do virtualenv, and we'll do a quick test. So let's do some test VM. And if you hit enter, you'll notice that it's putting a new Python executable in there, and it's also setting up pip and wheel. Wheel is just a format you can use to install Python packages. So now that we have a virtual environment set up, we just need to go in there and actually activate it to use it. So let's learn how to do that. Alright, so to get your VM to actually do something, you have to cd into your test VM, which I've done, as you can see, and you'll notice that inside of it there's a bin folder. So we'll do a source bin activate and see if we can get this thing to activate. Alright, you notice that now it says test VM at the beginning of our prompt. So now we're inside of our virtual environment, and we can start doing things like, if you wanted to, you can use its pip. So if you type I believe it's pip, let's see. Now let's actually make sure I don't screw this up. So go into lib. We'll just do some exploring first. So we have Python 2.7 in that particular one. Let's see, go into include, see what's in here, Python 2.7. So let's just try it. We'll do pip install, and we'll install SQL Alchemy here. And we'll see if it installs to the right place. It should. This is a good test to make sure that we've got it set up correctly. So it's building the wheels, put the cache. Alright, so cd up, else again. Let's go in lib. Alright, so let's figure out if there's a good way to test if this installed correctly. On Windows, you'd actually see a SQL Alchemy installation here. But if you type Python We'll find out if this works. So we have Python 2.7. We import SQL Alchemy. We'll see if it imports. Success. Let's try importing something that we didn't install into our VM. So like LXML, the module named LXML. So we know that we got this set up correctly because we are able to install a module or a package. Now if you're done with your program, if you're done with your VM, I mean, you can deactivate it by typing deactivate. And now we're deactivated. And you're back to your regular Python shell. Well, you're back to your regular shell, and if you type Python, you'll be in your regular Python instead of in the VM Python. Alright, I'm going to tell you about a couple of switches that you can do when you're installing virtualenv, when you run a virtualenv. So when you create your virtualenv folder, like test VM here, so if you type virtualenv, and you want to actually inherit your site packages because you have a bunch of site packages you want to play with, you can actually put a flag in there like system. Well, actually, I'll just show you. So you type in -- system site packages, and it gives the virtual environment access to the global site packages. This is going to be really, really handy if you need to have access to those. Since I didn't do that, that helps us know what packages that are installed in our personal VM. Some people don't want to have any site packages whatsoever, and I realize this is deprecated, but this is really handy to just tell it not to do that. This is also deprecated, but you used to be able to set it so that it would use distribute instead of setup tools. If for some reason you don't want pip or wheel installed in your virtualenv, you can turn those off. There's a bunch of different settings you can do. I'll let you read through these, but some of them are helpful and some of them aren't. But anyway, I think it's useful. There used to be, oh, it's still there. This used to be experimental, the relocatable flag, but it makes an existing virtualenv environment relocatable, which basically means that you can kind of move the folder around on your desktop or into different folders, and it still works. When this first came out, it didn't work quite right in Windows, so you might want to check that when you go to read the documentation. Alright, anyway, at this point you should be able to create a virtualenv yourself, activate it, and start installing modules and testing various code. There's also a neat module called virtualenv wrapper that Doug Hellman created to make it easier to create, delete, and manage your virtual environments. And there's also another module called zc.buildout, which is probably the closest thing that virtualenv has to a competitor. So you might want to check both of those out to help you in your programming adventures. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.